Sweet. Welcome, everybody. This is Undisputed Live with Clay and Brenton. NASCAR talk show. It's going to be interesting. We're going to try to keep it short and sweet. For us, this is kind of later in the evening. So we're going to quickly touch on the off weekend. I keep saying season. It was only one weekend. Clay, has it really been a whole season? No, it's just a weekend. We got the off weekend real fast. We've got the AllStar votes, and then we're going to have our picks for the upcoming race at Talladega, which will probably be a repeat of Daytona. Woo! It's going to be a real shocker. So, yeah, off weekend had some interesting topics. We had Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s mother pass away. It's kind of sad.
Yeah. And she wasn't even very old either. Did you hear?
No.
I didn't read too many of the details when I saw that she had passed. But did you happen to see what the cause was?
It was her bout with cancer. She had, yeah. So
I didn't even realize she was going through that.
Nor did I. And it was kind of tragic. She was only 65. So that's kind of probably a downer for that, especially in this season. It's kind of hard to have a loved one pass away in this type of season. So our condolences go out to Dale Earnhardt Jr. and his family because they've done an incredible amount for the sport. So on the flip side of that, then you have the whole Clint Boyer thing and Dale Earnhardt Jr. So Clay, describe that because you were the one who was a little more on top of this.
Yeah, I saw that video on I think it was Instagram. I hadn't seen the podcast until I saw the Instagram video of Clint Boyer as kind of a follow-up, kind of busting Dale Jr.'s chops a little bit about not being the good old boy he once was. So I see on Instagram Clint Boyer and Caitlin Larson, Kyle Larson's wife, just standing there shotgunning beers. Yeah. I'd say somebody was enjoying the off season or the off weekend. Yeah,
right. It's a whole season. I'm telling you, they wrapped a whole off season into one weekend. That's what they did. So
yeah, a little bit of a burn there from Clint Boyer, but I feel like that's just typical Clint Boyer, always goofing around, teasing and making fun of everybody.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because the off weekend was very interesting because of all of that news. It felt like the off weekend was almost more entertaining without the drivers on the track than it was with the drivers on the track. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, one thing I will applaud NASCAR for, the sport itself has been a little, let's say, going through some trying times in the last couple of years. But one thing that always impresses me about it is the family aspect of the sport.
Yeah.
They take weekends off for big holidays, particularly religious ones such as Easter. No other sports really do that. Football plays on Thanksgiving, and half the time they play on Christmas Day, which as a fan, it's really fun to watch it. But, you gotta think about the players and their families and the TV crews that get drug around on all these holidays. And I think that's one of the more special traditions that NASCAR has in giving those drivers and crew members and TV crew members and everybody the week off, because it really is a special holiday and a good time for family. And it's just one of the things I've admired about the sport. It sucks not having a race on that weekend, but I'll gladly give up watching a race to know that everybody's home with their families.
Yeah, I agree. And it is nice to see the drivers take that to its fullest. Like, they are home with their families. A lot of them are tweeting, and Instagramming and on all their social media showing that they're with their families. And that's really kind of, it personifies them a little better to make them a little bit more normal, I guess, something a little bit more we can relate to. So it's actually very nice to see that. And I agree. I guess that's one of the perks to having such a long season is that you can take these types of weekends off and it doesn't really affect the outcome of the sport, because it's going to keep running for the next, almost 28 weeks or
Right.
so. So
And if anything, these breaks actually help the sport because the drivers get a chance to, take some time off, clear their head, get refreshed, and then come into a big race like Talladega. It should be a good weekend. They've had plenty of time to rest up, refocus and get ready for the weekend.
yeah,
Um, it, I don't know. It's a good thing that the sport does, and I even saw Kyle Larson and Glenn Boyer look like they vacation, together with their families. So
yeah, yeah.
just kind of cool to see those guys being normal people for a change.
I agree. I like, yeah, that's really nice to see that type of that aspect of the sport. So,
Well, looking ahead a little bit into May, we have the AllStar Race coming up. I see that you've already casted your vote for the fan vote for the race. Tell us a little bit
did
about
sure. So, I voted. I haven't put it on Instagram, but I think I'm going to do that after the show because I'm going to reveal it live. I'm not a secret ballot. I'm proud to say I voted for Daniel Hemrick to go for the All-Star race. I actually had a couple different toss-ups. Daniel Suarez was actually kind of on my top list. I think the amount of momentum he's shown this year could have definitely put him into the contention very well.
it.
I might actually vote for him on another computer. I don't know. I might. But yeah, Daniel Hemrick was my first choice. I think he deserves a good shot to go in and try to prove himself. It can only help him get more publicity, get better. He's already in a Toyota, which is incredibly good equipment this year, so I think that's going to be pretty good. Yeah, so that's who I voted for. Like I said, it was tough. There's a couple other ones that I think I would have gone with as well, but the list is actually very different too because it's not drivers who normally win because they didn't win last year, so
Right.
it was different.
Well, when I was looking at the list, I kind of split it into three categories. I had the driver that I think is going to win the fan vote, the driver that I'm going to vote for, and the driver that I want to vote for.
Okay, that's actually a good classification. I like that.
So the driver I think is going to win the fan vote is William Byron. Everybody seems to love him. They all think he's going to be the next Jeff Gordon. Honestly, so far I haven't seen it, but I wish him well because he seems like a nice guy and he's obviously a good racer. He's gotten this far.
Yeah.
But we just haven't seen it yet. The driver that I am going to vote for is Kyle Larson. I think he's the only person on that list that has a good chance of getting in the race and actually getting up there and fighting for the win. Obviously, he's not a very aggressive driver, or else he'd be a lot more fun to watch and probably have more trophies. But
yeah,
he's good at the 1.5 mile tracks, and Charlotte is one of his good tracks. So if he was to get voted in, I could see him doing pretty well in the All-Star race. And then the driver that I really wanted to pick, but I felt would kind of be like a wasted vote because there's no way he's going to get picked for the race, was Matt DiBenedetto. He's just one of those guys. He's so cool, and he's a lot like Martin Truex Jr. used to be.
Yes,
running in a subpar team, but doing pretty good with it. So I would really like to see that team grow a little bit more and see what Matt DiBenedetto can do because even though he's got a wild name, he's a good racer.
Yeah, no, I agree. He was actually one of the other people that I was considering putting in there because I completely agree with you. We were talking a little bit before the show. I picked 24 as the person that would probably win the fan vote. I think William will probably win. Will be my guess.
Well,
so
Chase Elliott's clearly the favorite, but I think the next best favorite on Hendrick is probably William Byron.
Yeah, agreed. So yeah, Matt DiBenedetto, I like that one because him, Daniel Hemrick, and Daniel Suarez those were the three that I was like, because I was like thinking what you were. I'm like, William Byron's gonna get it, so I don't really even need to vote for it. So, I mean, Kyle Larson is a good choice though. Like he's gonna probably be like right up there. So
Right. There's a good chance it could be either one of them.
yes, yeah.
Well, looking ahead to this weekend, we got a wild weekend coming up, one that's nearly impossible to pick for. But since we've been making picks all season, we're going to continue that trend. Brent, who you got for the pole this weekend at Talladega?
I am going with a Chevy. I'm going with the person we were just talking about, Kyle Larson.
Okay.
It's the only reason I'm doing that, and you'll see the rest of my picks, and you'll be like, "Oh, this is whacked up." But a Chevy won the pole at Daytona, and that seems to be the only thing they know how to win. So I'm going to go with Larson winning a pole.
Very good.
Talladega. Who do you got?
Anything can happen. Well, I was thinking back to Daytona, and not necessarily the 500, but during speed weeks, somebody that seemed to be rather fast and oddly good plate racer, which I didn't realize he was. But coming from the Ford camp, one of the few Fords that's not a Penske or Stuart Haas, I guess you could say he has some relation to Penske, but I'm looking at Paul Menard for taking the pole. He's been fast in qualifying before, and I just see him. I can see him turning on at Talladega.
That I like that. His name actually comes up later on my list, so that's a good pick. I like that pick. So who do you have for stage one then?
Well, staying with the kind of wacky trend, he's won here before. Plate racing is about the only thing he does well. He's wild and he's a pain in the ass, but he usually seems to do well at Talladega. I think Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is going to take stage one.
Okay.
He's going to muscle his way to the front and get there, but he ain't going to stay there.
See, I like your thinking because that is normally the route I take. I normally take these things. I'm actually really surprised this week that I didn't go the whacked out route because we would have probably been completely in sync. I went totally whacked out from a different perspective this week. I put the entire Penske camp as 1, 2, 3. I put Brad as stage one, Joey stage two, and then I put Ryan Blaney as winner. Ryan, I do think actually has an actual chance. Like Ryan was completely as unpredictable as Talladega is. He was completely a valid, legit win pick. But I just know that the Penske camp and the Fords are so fast right now. If it's not going to be a Toyota, it's probably going to be a Penske Ford up front, unless Stuart Haas does that whole thing that they did last year. But I can kind of just see the Penske camp just rotating out the stages this week. So
if I was going to do that, I agree with you, except I would swap Ryan Blaney with Brett Keselowski. Ryan Blaney stage one, Logano stage two. Keselowski
that makes sense. Yeah.
Just because Keselowski has such a history with Talladega, this seems to be one of his favorite places.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. I hope I'm surprised.
Well, I'm hoping that it's your picks, because what is your pick for stage two and win?
Well, my pick for stage two isn't very wild, but Hendrick usually seems to make a presence in these races. They don't win them very often, but they do make a strong presence during the race. Chase Elliott's a pretty good plate racer, and I can see him kind of muscling his way to the front. Maybe, there's a caution with 10 laps before the end of stage two. He gets off pit road first, and the guys don't get a line forming to draft by him. He stays in front and takes stage two. I could see something like that happen.
That's a very very good assessment. I think can totally happen.
But that's provided that he makes it through one, if not multiple big ones during the day.
Yeah, he has to probably run up. I mean, if he's not going to get pole, he has to be probably running in top 10 in order for that to happen, at least.
Well, my theory is that he'll probably run mid-packed in the back, and then should a caution happen, he'll come in, take two, get out front, and then take.
Oh, yeah, and take stage two, sweep it that way. Yeah, that's a good point.
One of their eccentric strategies where they kind of hang around the back and then just show up at the end of the race.
Yeah. Yep.
And then we talked about this before the show. For my winner, he's been getting a little stronger every week, and I think he's really hungry for a win. He's won plate races before. Kurt Busch. I think it's time.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
For Kurt to get a little love instead of his brother.
No, and you know what? I agree with that because he has been putting down the laps. He's been putting down the performance.
Yep.
And this is a track that you're right. This is a track we know he could win at easily. So
as much as I like Kyle Busch, for some reason, there's just something about Kurt that I like. He's kind of a weird dude, but I just like him.
I agree. I'm drawn to that eclecticness and that complete.
Both of them, both Busch brothers. Yeah. They're like those guys that people just love to hate, but
yes,
there's just something about them that I really like, almost admire. They're just cool guys.
I completely agree. So that's kind of what drew me to them as well. That was way back in I think it was 2008 or 9. Kyle Busch he was driving on the road with one of the Lexus LFAs as a press kind of thing, and he got pulled over. Yeah, and I'm like, I like this guy. I like this guy, and that's kind of what changed me to Kyle so it's been almost 10 years now. So
it's going 120 and a 30.
Yeah, there's something crazy like that. I'm like, okay, this guy's cool. So,
well, Brenton, since Talladega basically is nothing but a long shot, do you have a long shot pick?
I do. As I described, Paul Menard would come back on my list. And Paul Menard comes on my list as my long shot. I love to make that guy my long shot. And I'm completely broke and I'm not really a gambler. But if I was and I went into Vegas, I'd put some money on him because it's a good chance.
Well, you would probably have a better chance of getting your money back than I would. But for some reason, I'm just drawn to this guy for a long shot. And if he makes it through the big ones and any other problems on track and puts himself in contention, I could see a David Reagan and David Gilliland type setting again, as we saw here back in 2013. And instead of David Reagan, and it could be Kurt Busch that hooks up with him, because Kurt has been a good pusher in the past. He's pushed a lot of guys to the win.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's played. If he finds himself in contention or in position, Matt DiBenedetto.
There you go.
Could potentially come up with a win. I know that might be crazy, but he has run very well this year for a kind of a crappy team.
Yes, I was going to say this track is,
and he's a good driver.
Yeah,
very good driver.
No, he is. He clearly is. If he had better equipment, he would at least be doing between 10 and 20. He'd be finishing up in that range consistently. So
he'd at least be Eric Jones or
yeah, Bubba Wallace or somebody like that. Yeah.
He'd be better than Bubba Wallace. Bubba Wallace sucks.
Yeah. He never ever comes up unless, unfortunately, we are not quite on his train. So
seems like a cool guy, but just not cutting it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I have nothing bad to say about him off the track. Ryan Blaney is one of Ryan Blaney's best friends. He's actually a really cool personality. I think he's really fun.
Well, I just love to see him succeed. He just doesn't.
Yeah, agreed. And I don't, like we discussed before, I don't even know if he gotten better equipment, if that would even help. So
it's doubtful.
Yeah. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is Undisputed for this week. We made our picks. We'd love to know what you think. Let us know what your picks are. Leave them in the comments below, and we'll try to interact with you guys and see what you think. But until the next episode, hopefully you guys will watch the race, watch this episode, and we'll see you on the next one.